Just under 2 months away from its premiere date, we got our first trailer for Andor Season 2, along with a poster and an article on StarWars.com. I'll come back to that article, and specifically I want to talk about the fact that we'll be getting 3 episodes every week, but first, let's dive into the trailer. I'll say it's an interesting way to present the series. The trailers for Season 1 were way more moody and ominous. They really focused on the oppression of the Empire and built up the tension with percussion and throat singing, and it all felt pretty representative of watching the show. It's intense and it's heavy, but every arc ends with this awesome emotional release. This trailer seems like it's built around fun action. It uses a real-world song called The Revolution Starts Now by Steve Earle. I think Disney is trying to market Andor to a wider audience, probably building off of Skeleton Crew, which was very fun and also used a well-known song in its trailer. That's fine with me, because the people who loved Andor Season 1 were already gonna watch Season 2. You don't have to sell us again. But if you're trying to hook Star Wars fans that didn't give Season 1 a shot, then I understand why you might want to highlight a bunch of cool action with a catchy song while throwing up a bunch of critical praise for the series. This seems more like a teaser trailer to hype up as many people as possible. If we get a full 2.5-minute trailer in 4 weeks or so, it might be more in line with the tone of the series. And music aside, the actual visuals of the trailer go hard and match the energy of the Season 1 trailers, with a bunch of shots of people's backs while they're walking. I'm into it, and I'm ready to discuss it all. In case you haven't been keeping up with how the second season will be structured, there will be a time jump in between every 3 episodes, and the final 3 will lead us directly into the events of Rogue One. So instead of going straight through the trailer, I'm gonna do my best to group connected moments together, so we might be able to get a sense of what to expect. I think the first shot is on the planet Gorman. It was mentioned a couple times in Season 1, and something called the Gorman Massacre is basically the straw that breaks Mon Mothma's back. 2 years before the Battle of Yavin, the incident causes her to publicly denounce Palpatine, making her an enemy of the state and sending her on the run. Soon after, she gathers various rebel cells to her cause to lead them all as the Rebel Alliance. I can't be sure, but I think we are going to actually see the Gorman Massacre in Season 2. I really hope we get to see Mothma's full speech as well. It would be rad to give Genevieve O'Reilly a Luthen Rail-style monologue against fascism within the Imperial Senate itself. And then maybe we'll get a whole sequence of Cassian working to get her safely off of Coruscant. There definitely seem to be some shots of him on the planet with Bix. At one point I thought the shots of him all dressed up might be in Mothma's actual home, but now that I'm getting a better look, I believe that is Gorman. All of the shots of Mothma have me really curious. It looks like she's part of a big party. Maybe it's specifically a Chandrillan party? Davos Golden, the shady quote-unquote businessman from the first season, can be seen in several of the shots, so maybe this is Leeta's wedding reception. When we last left Mothma, she had promised to introduce her daughter to Skolden's son, and it was clear he was hoping that would lead to a traditional Chandrillan marriage. There's a big party, and Perrin is there with Mon, and they're approaching Skolden, and what I'm guessing is a fancy droid photographer. Mothma won't be happy about any of this, so maybe she's trying to cut loose. We also see Skolden in the background of a shot with Orson Krennic and some ISB agents, and I expect that's Mothma in the foreground, so her business dealings with a criminal are probably going to lead to some bad places. That's an easy guess, but it is so good to see Krennic back. We've known he would be returning for some time, and I think there was even footage of him released back at D23, but he was such a great villain in Rogue One. Self-important and impetulant. I can't wait to see him getting more screen time in a show like this. Moving on to what I think is a completely different arc, there are quite a few shots that feature large wheat fields. I think we see Wilman Pack running through the field while stormtroopers chase him, Brasso is there, and we see Cassian flying what I think is a TIE Avenger blowing up an Imperial transport. I'm totally guessing here again, but this planet is giving me Dantooine vibes. An interview with John Knoll way back in 2017 said Rogue One was originally going to include a sequence involving the evacuation of the Dantooine Rebel base. We've also seen some concept art of Dantooine from Rogue One that seems to match those fields. So maybe we'll get an arc involving the full story of that base and why it was abandoned. Maybe it's connected to those shots of X-Wings taking off, leaving a body behind. They're marked with Saw Gerrera's partisan livery, so it could be that he was in charge of that base. Or I might be way off. At any rate, we know Cassian will be stealing what looks like a TIE Avenger. Those ships were first made for the TIE Fighter video game, and were meant to be more capable against Rebel starfighters, being faster, more heavily armed, and equipped equipped with shields, which most TIE fighter models didn't have. So maybe this is a prototype Cassian steals to stop it from going into mass production. If that's the case, it would be kind of similar to some episodes of Star Wars Rebels dealing with the TIE Defender, but whatever. Every single shot of that ship flying around causing chaos looked awesome. The final arc will likely include these shots of Cassian at the Yavin base. Honestly, it looks like most of the shots in the trailer are surrounding Gorman and the TIE Avenger, which is great. I'm glad they aren't giving everything away. It kinda looks like Cassian is wearing the same coat in this shot with Clea. She seems way more stressed out than we're used to seeing her in Season 1. I think it's interesting that Luthen is only in one shot of this trailer. Maybe they're just saving all of his stuff for the series, but he and Clea worked so closely together. I wonder if he's dead and gone by this point, and that's why she's looking more shaken. So I guess now I'll just talk about some individual moments. I love seeing Saw Gerrera evolving into his Rogue One look. This shot reminds me of Jedha, so maybe we'll get a bit of his story setting up shop there. I just hope we get more of him this season in general. Forrest Whitaker's scenes with Stellan Skarsgård in Season 1 were fantastic. I'm really curious about these helmetless Imperials. We didn't see a ton of Stormtroopers in the first season because at that point Stormtroopers simply weren't as prevalent. They were basically sent in as conflicts escalated, so that's why we start to see them on Ferrix more and more as the season goes on, but even in the finale it's still mostly regular Imperial Army troopers. So maybe these soldiers are showing the growing Stormtrooper Corps over the years until they basically become the primary infantry of the Empire by the time of the Battle of Yavin. We can see one of them in the background of this shot of Dedra Meero. Like Luthen and many other characters, she's only in one shot of this trailer. Same with Cyril Karn. It's hard to guess exactly what they'll be up to other than their usual fascism. I feel pretty confident Cyril will be on Gorman. I remember at Star Wars Celebration London seeing a shot of him with a beret, and we see a lot of berets in the Gorman footage. Speaking of the Karns, good old Edie pops up for a shot. I'll be glad to see her berating Cyril again. There is a single shot of K2SO as well. I'm hoping we get a whole arc about him meeting Cassian. That would feel strange if it happened off screen. Technically, their meeting has been told in a comic, but I am fully expecting that to be overwritten. I won't mind, but I think it would be fun if they acknowledged the comic a bit like they did when they changed Cassian's homeworld from Fes to Kenari. I also hope they meet early in the season, so we get plenty of time with the two of them together. There are a couple of shots of a more rustic-looking city at night with some machine plowing up bricks and someone sabotaging another vehicle. It kinda reminds me of Ferrix, but I'm not sure. I wouldn't mind seeing more of that planet. I loved getting to know it in Season 1. Maybe it's this pissed-off guy messing things up. He's wearing red, kind of like what we see Cassian wearing in the TIE Avenger, so maybe this is all part of the potential Dantooine TIE Avenger arc. We see Saw Gerrera encouraging someone to fight at the end of the trailer, and I suspect that's on the same planet as well. There's another single shot of Ruscott Melshi. I figured he would be returning since he is in Rogue One, but it's nice to have that confirmed. And I have no idea what's going on with this person who pulls out a blaster and threatens a ton of people, but I like their intensity. The last thing I want to bring up is the lack of B2 Emo in this trailer. Where is he? Is he safe? Is he alright? I love that little droid, and I'm so scared for him, and I just want to see him and hear him again. That's all I've got to say about the trailer itself right now, but I do want to spend some time talking about the show's release schedule. StarWars.com says creator and executive producer Tony Gilroy has shared that this season will follow Cassian's journey in the 4 years leading up to the events of Rogue One, with the 12-episode story unfolding in 4 weekly chapters of 3 episodes each. My first reaction to this was to be annoyed. I still kind of am. The first season of Andor was heavy. Outside of the first arc, I think each episode benefited from having some time to really sit with the ideas being presented. I was looking forward to doing that again. I also think episodes like One Way Out benefited from having to really sit in the misery of Narkina 5 for 2 straight weeks prior. But mostly, I'm just bummed that the series is going to be done forever in just 4 weeks. I was excited to have 12 or even 10 like we did in Season 1. I loved that Andor had 12 episodes instead of 8. But the fact that this seems to be Tony Gilroy's decision eases my frustration a bit. He is the creator, and if he is the one who thinks this is the best way to experience the final season, then I will trust him. I have no reason not to. And I have to admit that the idea of getting what basically amounts to a new Star Wars movie every week for a month straight sounds rad. There are definitely some pluses to this announcement, but personally, I think I would have preferred to get to savor this show one last time. It kind of sounds like the season has to fully air by May 31st to be considered for the 2026 Emmy Awards, so I guess the faster release schedule is in a way a vote of confidence for the series and its quality. No matter the release schedule, I can't wait to experience this version of Star Wars again. Season 1 was excellent, and we're in the middle of our rewatch right now. I'm itching for more Andor, so let me know what you think of the new trailer in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel for all our Andor coverage, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page, where you can see our reactions to this trailer and all the Season 1 episodes right now. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.